Morning YouTube. Just completed our daily checks. Just show you the load quickly. Well, you can see that. That's the precast concrete we're taking down to St Albans. Oh, it's now 4:25. We're going to get going, get on our way down to St Albans. Oh, good morning again YouTube. Welcome to day 2. As you can see, we've just been out and done our daily checks. So we're now ready to go. Ready to set off down to St Albans, get rid of this load of precast concrete, and then make our way to Southampton. So get going now. M6, M1, down to St Albans, stop somewhere to grab a coffee. And hopefully we'll get there on time, get the delivery off no problems, and get our back load on. Try and keep a light on so you can actually see me. It'd be better with that little light on. We'll sort something out anyway. Right, let's get on our way. About 2.5 hours from the drop from here. We should get there plenty of time. 4:30 now. Should put us there at 7 o'clock. Nice and quiet, as you can see now. This road, there's not a lot on it. So come 10 o'clock last night, Sunday night, it was quiet. We had a 9 off last night, so that's one of our reduced rests gone already. We've got 2 left. Unless we can get a split break on somewhere, which normally when we're doing the construction steel into London, you usually do get 1 or 2 split breaks on during the week. But we'll see this week if we actually do get a chance to get into London and do that. Not sure what we'll end up doing after the Newcastle job. I'm not actually sure what this job is normally. This type of concrete line, it's usually like loading bays or the base of like one of these buildings that's got the cladding on. So the steels will be in place, put these concrete in place, they'll be doing the cladding, they'll be doing the roof. A lot of these Amazon buildings and stuff like that at the moment are getting built like that. A lot of warehousing is getting built like that. I would imagine it's something like that. Righty, YouTube. I'm going to crack on now, probably stop. Well, I will stop for the new services at Rugby. We'll get a coffee there. Hope it'll be a bit lighter by then as well, so you'll be able to see me a bit better. So I'll get down through Birmingham, get onto the news services, grab a coffee, and I'll bring you back then and let you know how we're getting on. Hey YouTube, we're back on. Got a bit of lights on the situation now. Thrown a bit of lights on it. See what we're doing. We're 18 kilometres now off junction 8 of the M1. Not done too bad up tonight. We've had the 60-mile-an-hour signs on the matrix, but we've kept flowing. And now we're just slowing down here now near Luton. Got 50 on the matrix. Big site here to my right, big Lidl. Done a bit into there. Held me up them a few weeks ago on a Friday. I couldn't get back, and I'd run Sunday. I used the 7th card rule. Luckily, I hadn't started till later on in the mid-morning, maybe midday, so I could get back early Saturday morning. But massive big site. Had a little bit of rebar on, and they had no way of offloading it. Plenty of ways of offloading it, plenty of cranes on site, plenty of stuff to offload it with. But the actual company I was delivering to didn't have the crane on site until the Monday. So they were trying to offload it with a forklift and it just weren't working. So they had to wait for a second guy to come in from another site so they could lift in tandem and lift off the rebar. It was actually a Bantec, which looks like big rolled up carpets. They use it for tiling. They also use it, roll it out and use it like you would do with mesh for concreting. Yeah, massive site like that. There at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, I thought I'll have this off and straight back, because it was one of them where I talked about when they ask you to do something that's just pushing a little bit when you've when you've already done a full week, or you've done, like say, the last 5 or 6 Saturdays or Sundays, and they want you to do another one, and you don't want to do it. You got to put your foot down. Well, he'd rung me on the Thursday and said, could you do us a Luton Friday morning? Now normally Friday, when you run out Sunday, you get an handy finish. So, and he said, look, just run down with it, 8 o'clock, tip it and run straight back. Don't need backload or anything. No problem. I thought that'll do. But I get that off for 10. 4 hours back up, you can do it in just about 1 hit. Even if you have to take a break, you know what I mean? But I thought 4 hours back up, that'll do me. Get it back in for 2 o'clock, 1:30 at latest. But yeah, that'll do. Saturday morning about 5:30 I got back. Well, same again, you see, if he'd have said to me, can you do it, and then you go in such and such a place for a backload and blah blah, I'd have said no chance, not doing it. But he knew. Do you know what I mean? He knew he'd be pushing his luck or taking the piss if he'd have asked me to get a backload on. So he just said straight down, tip, straight back up. He didn't know it was going to have them problems on site, neither did I. Nobody would have thought I wouldn't have got it off at a reasonable time, couple of hours tipping and straight back. These things happen. It was just making me think earlier, lads, that when I first started, when I first passed my class 1, I had difficulties, even though I had 6 years class 2 experience. I found it difficult to get a class 1 job. I had to do a bit of agency work to get my eye in, and then I spoke to somebody who worked for this company, and they told me to go in and see who was the transport manager then. And I spoke to him, and at the time, I think it was just the lead up to Christmas, That'd been November, something like that. And he said after Christmas, quietens down. Obviously, with us being heavily construction based, quietens down. It don't anymore, but it used to do. It bloody stopped, was it? But it used to quieten down. And he just said, give me a nudge in March, remind me, and I'll give you a start. Anyway, he stuck to his promise, and I started the second week in March. And coming into this industry then, you know, at the time, and jumping straight into general haulage was a massive learning curve. But I thought about all the old boys that were here, you know, in the 50s and the 60s that had been driving since the early 70s. There was like a group of them that had all sort of worked around the group, doing general haulage flatbed work. I mean, most of it was, weren't it? You know, roping and sheeting and all that. And the camaraderie between them all was brilliant. All right, you know, they were all a bit rough and ready, and they all liked to scoop. You know what I mean? They all liked a couple of pints of a night time. But you know, it was different then, and things have changed. Some things for the better, some things not so good. And the company's grown. The company's grown from what it was, 3 depots when I started, and you know, relatively like small depots, if you like. I think we had about 46 trucks, something like that, when I started at my depot. Up to when we moved depots, and then we got up to 100 trucks in the Manchester depot. We're not there now, it's dropped down quite a lot actually. We've obviously with driver shortages and one thing of another, but now the amount of groups that they bought out and brought into one, and branched out into different, you know, into the heavy haulage side of it, into bulk, tipper work, into container work, logistics, all sorts of other stuff that they've sort of like branched out into, and purchased other companies and brought them into the group. It's now a massive company, and for, I'd say for 5 or 6 years it seemed it stayed pretty stable, and it was the same faces in the offices in each depot that you went into, and everyone knew you by your first name, and everyone would have a bit of a laugh and joke, and everyone knew what you could do and what you couldn't do. And I mean, I'm not talking like everyone could do the same job, but I mean, you know, some lads a bit older and what have you, and you know, they wouldn't want to be clambering on loads, sheeting. Some lads wouldn't, you know, just wouldn't sheet. And you know, they just know, you know, if you were go anywhere, do anything type of bloke, or whether you were a bit selective, should we say, on what you did. You know, each depot knew that, and you know, you'd ring up empty, you'd actually contact that depot back then at the time, and then, you know, wherever you was, if you was down south, you'd speak to our Kent base depot, and they'd just, yep, no problem, they'd know straight away that you'd just go anywhere and do anything. It didn't matter where they were sending you and what they were sending you with, you just get on with it. But there were like a lot more work, or a lot more variety of work, should we say, than there is now. And you'd do a lot more stuff where there'd be 4 or 5 of you on a job at once. I mean, we used to do cabins from Stackwright, it's not going anymore, from Knowlesley, and we'd take them all over the place. And there was for quite a couple of years, we was doing a lot of cabins up to Scotland, and there'd be 12, 13, 14 of you going up for the new academies that they were building. At one point there in, I don't know when it was, probably the late 2000, like 2008ish, around that time, 2007, 2008, there was, Scotland were making a lot of high schools, like sort of combining them into one and making them into academies, and building new schools or extending schools. So we was doing a lot of that, and that was quite a good laugh. But you know, you all helped each other out, and you all got stuck in and got the cabin strapped up and get up there and get parked up somewhere, Penrith or Carlisle, have a meal and a pint, off to bed up in the morning, get up there. There'd always be one straggler who would, you know, parked somewhere away from the group and not got up in the morning, he'd always have cabin 1 on or cabin 3 on, so they'd whip the first 2 cabins off and then they all went in order. And then they'd be waiting for cabin 3 and you'd all be sat there. And that was before we had the trackers. Before we all had trackers and all that, and they'd transport would ring up, who's there, who's on site, who's not, what's the hold up? You'd try and not say anything, but then eventually you'd have to, oh, we're waiting for cabin, who's got cabin 3? So then they'd be looking down the list and they'd be on the phone to him, well, I'm half an hour away, I got up late, or had a problem this morning, I had a dicky tummy. And he'd turn up and I'd be like, where have you been? Come on, get it off. But then he'd be off, he'd have his load off and on his way for his back load, and you'd be bleeding, still waiting, because you might have cabin 10 on. You might be there all bloody morning. But you'd all then dart off different directions. You know, we'd go and pick brick up from Blantyre, we'd go and pick pallets up from Glasgow. We'd go to sawmill at Dalbeatty, or there's another sawmill we also, Trude. Go up there on the Ayrshire coast, or we'd come down and go into Penrith for peat, or even like plasterboard and stuff like that. We'd all get a back load anyway and then all meet up again at Carlisle or what's it, Penrith, or even Carnforth, you know what I mean? We'd all meet up somewhere, or at least some of us would anyway. Probably get a bit spread out by that point, depending on where you've been sent for your backload and how far you could get back south. But then obviously we'd all get them backloads off, and then you might be back in Statright again later in the week and all heading back up again. And it'd just be like an hardcore of drivers that, you know, you were like go anywhere, do anything, man, so you just see them all over the place, but everybody helped each other out. And if you were in somewhere and you were sheeting up, then, you know, and there were a couple of other drivers there, you'd help each other. You'd get the load sheeted up. If 3 or 4 of you were in somewhere, loading a load of steel and all need sheeting, you'd all help each other. And hopefully a couple of you were going to the same place in the morning, you're getting sheets off together, fold them up. And that's the thing, it's not the putting your sheets on and tying down, or even taking them off, it's folding them up in a windy yard when your sheets are getting blown all over the yard. And there was a time where drivers would get out of the trucks, no matter who they worked for, no matter what they were driving, they'd get out and wouldn't see you struggle. Now you just seem to just get left to struggle. There'll be drivers who have just took their sheets off, folded them up, and alright, they might have had to do it themselves because there was nobody else in the yard, and they might be back in the shed getting offloaded, and they'll come out, they'll say, yeah, get your sheets off, driver, he'll be done in 10 minutes. So you're getting your sheets off and he's sat in his cab watching you with his sheet blowing around the yard. You're trying to stand on a corner, you just about get it folded up, and then the wind comes and takes it. It's frustrating. I was in a yard, there must have been about 4 or 5 flatbeds in there, and they're all de-sheeted, and I've come in and I'm trying to fold my sheets up, it's blowing all over the place, and a UPS driver came in, dropped his package off, and as he's come up the yard, he's stopped, he's jumped out, and he's helped me. And I said, oh, cheers, mate. Oh, I won't see you struggle. I said, these lot will. And he couldn't believe it. He'd never driven a truck, didn't have an HGV licence, but he gave me a lift, and he said, I can't believe they're not getting out and helping you. He said, it wouldn't have happened this 6, 7, 8 years ago. I said, but now, it's just the way it is. But it's like, you know, people can point the finger or whatever they want, and obviously pressure, companies have grown, things are different now, there's a lot of health and safety, there's a lot of, you know, I mean, like I was saying, we don't do as much roping and sheeting anymore as we used to do. This is the first vehicle that they've not made sheets for it, and I'm not carrying sheets at the moment, because I think I've done a couple of sheeting jobs. I can't even remember doing one this year. I can't remember doing a sheeting job this year, but there's a good chance I have. But it's one if I have. You know what I mean? You just don't do it as much. But yeah, getting back to that, it's sort of like, I don't like these Facebook groups. I'm not on Facebook, a lot of crap. But I don't like this, like, don't get me wrong, it'll have its good positive things, like, you know, professional HGV drivers forum or whatever it is. There's a hell of a lot of driver bashing on there from other drivers, where a driver's dropped a bollock, made a mistake, he could have lost a load, hit a bridge, run it back of a car, whatever he's done to, you know, he's at that point at the lowest ebb, You know what I mean? He just, and then all he does is gets bashed. People take pictures of it, post it all over this thing, laugh and joke about it, comment about it, because we've never made mistakes. You know what I mean? We just come straight out at test centre with that pass certificate in our hand, jumps in a truck, and never dropped a bollock in our lives. Never made a mistake. Never had a load slip or go over, or took the wrong trailer somewhere, or, you know, scraped outside of a car trying to get into a yard or an industrial estate, or, you know, knocked a bloody fence post over or a wall down, or whatever, you know, whatever happens, you know, when you're out there, you know, because it just makes me laugh that everybody's quick to point the finger, and I never am, because you're only as good as your last mistake, aren't you? You know what I mean? You're only as good as your last job. Things happen. We're doing the amount of mileage that we do, going into the type of places that, especially when you're on general, maybe not so much when you're on RDC work and stuff like that, where they're all quite big yards and concreted and well lit and well set out, and, you know, there's space provided there for you to do your manoeuvres. But when you're going on some of these building sites, and there's all sorts of obstacles and pallets of bricks and stuff that you don't quite see, something sticking up, some small post sticking up out the ground or something like that, that could rip a front bumper off or do a tyre on, or smash a light cluster on us, you know, something like that. I'm not quick to jump all over somebody's mistakes. And the other thing it does as well, which I find the most frustrating thing, is the haulage industry gets the bad press as it is, and drivers in general, from the general public. I know, you know, it was all like being applauded and waved off the motorway bridges and classed as, you know, being working class heroes when we was doing the during the pandemic, but that soon changes, doesn't it? You know what I mean? We're back to being the scourge of society in most people's eyes now at the moment, and I don't know why we give these people the ammunition to have a go at the industry, because that's what we do. Not just by posting things all over these Facebook groups and stuff like that, taking pictures of every mistake and sticking it here, there and everywhere, but also like littering, and, you know, like when you're parked up at the night time, and there might be a nice little industrial estate or lay-by or something like that, or just an area you can park just outside a nice little village where you can have a wander into the village and get yourself a chippy tea, or sit down in a pub and have a nice meal and a pint, watch a bit of football, or whatever, or just chill away from your truck. And then drivers will spoil it by leaving bottles of piss and bags of shit and bags of rubbish all over industrial estate, and then they'll wonder, you know, they'll complain 6, 12, 18 months down the line when you can no longer park there, when they put parking restrictions in place and you can no longer park there, and people complain why the residents are not wanting you to park there. And, you know, it won't be every driver. People can say it's this driver, it's that, you know, it's, but it, you know, I think you can't say it's foreign drivers, or you can't say, you know, it's, I don't know, but, you know, because it's everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's everybody's that's I'm going to say that says unsuitable for HGVs, but I'm going left. Yeah, I thought, don't tell me it's down there, but it's not, it's left down here. Harbour Road, I1. Yeah, like you say, these bigger companies now, you're just a number. There's been a lot of changes here, which probably doesn't help, you know, probably doesn't help what goes on out there on the road. But for a few years it was always the same faces in the transport offices. Now all that's changed. There's not a person left in my transport office that was in there when I started. They've all changed over there. There's some there now that have been there a good few years, but there's not one face left from when I started. And it's same with other depots. our main head office, there's only a handful of people there, and none of them are directly on the traffic desk. So you become just a number when the company gets bigger. Not so much in your own depot, but in you know, in other depots, when you're going into other depots, you just might, you know, you just tell them your fleet number, because you say your name, the first thing they ask you is what's your fleet number. And I get it, because you can't remember everybody, and drivers are coming and going these days. There's so much change, and obviously the agency drivers and one thing and another. I do understand it. Lane's coming up on my right. But yeah, to me, I've seen probably the back end of when it was quite old school, before it, you know, before it just became as what's it as it is now, as probably as like regulated as it is now. I know it's always been a regulated industry, but now it's really one of the most regulated industries there is. We're in 250 yards. There's a width restriction. And I need to spin round and park up there and have a look. I'm not going to get down there. I'm definitely not getting down there. This is where the fun starts. Let's have a quick look on the map, see if there's right, this is going to be fun, this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to jump out and go and have a look. Well, that was disaster avoided. Always better to get out and go for a walk. You've got a pair of legs, you've got a hole in your head. That's Harbour Lane there on the right, showing a width restriction. Unsuitable for HGVs, and then a width restriction of 7 foot. The postcode puts me this side of the width restriction, and the building number. But the construction site and building that I want is 10 yards the other side of the width restriction. And if I'd have gone down there, well, I wouldn't have been happy trying to reverse out of it anyway. So we need to come in the other end of Harbour Lane, or Harbour Road, whatever it is. Cold Harbour Lane. Don't know why it's called Cold Harbour Lane. There's a bloody harbour here. Apparently we'll come down there, spot roundabout, do a right, and come round a sweeping right hand bend, and we should get there. So I'm passing it here now on my right. I don't know if I'll actually see the building or not. There it is. Yeah, the sat nav is throwing all sorts of what's it's up at me. I'm coming up to the spot roundabout now. It's turning me left. God knows why. It's because it thinks I'm the other side of the width restriction, so it's not going to want to send me. There we go, industrial area. It's not going to want to send me in this way because it thinks my drop is now the other side, so it's going to try and turn me round. Now that's great, sat navs are great, truck sat navs are brilliant, but if the postcode puts you this side of the other side of a width restriction, or this side of it, sorry, and you want the other side, the same with low bridges, where I have encountered problems with low bridges before. has been when the postcode is putting me this side of the bridge that I'm approaching, but the actual customer's premises is just the other side of the bridge, and that can be a problem. That's where Google Earth helps, but not really having a proper address apart from 48 Cold Harbour Lane doesn't really help, 'cause it's saying the same here now. Width restriction, 1/4 mile, 2.1 metres, 7 foot. But luckily, I had a wander down and I know this is right. I wouldn't expect an industrial estate when you walk down that road there. It's a nice road. You wouldn't expect nice little cottages and stuff. You wouldn't expect an industrial estate that gets bolted onto the end of it. Cheers, pal. I mean, like I said, it started off, I think it was number 70 was the first house down there, so halfway down the road I've got to 49 on one side of the road, thinking, well, you know, that's why the postcode's put me here, because you'd expect 48 to be the other side of the road, but it isn't. This is the entrance I want. By the looks of it. Great. And the width restriction is just the other side of his vehicle. Well, nobody wants to help him. Chap's gonna say.
Morning, buddy. All
Well,
right?
yeah, not bad.
A bit early for this shit, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
I just need to get in that little close area if that's alright.
Yeah, I'll back up. Yeah, I'm going. Well, I'm delivering there, but
Looks like they're not in a rush.
no.
Alright, cheers, buddy.
All right, mate. Back up here and see. We'll go and have a word. Right, anyway, we've arrived, so we'll go and speak to someone on site, see what's happening. It's 25 to now, so I'm either on time or half an hour early. Right, I'll go and speak to somebody on site. Well, this is where the fun starts. So we're here on time. The lads are not here who offload this stuff. They'll be on the way down from Birmingham. So they'll either be here at 8 or they won't be, depending on traffic coming down from Birmingham. They're scheduled to be here at 8 and then they're going to offload me, I think, on the road. They could drive me in, but it's going to be tight. So I think they'll offload me, get it right, Adam, across the entrance. I just hope they're not going to put them in place. I hope they're just going to drag them off and put them down and not be putting them in place, because if they're putting them in place we could be here all day, which is not what we want. Just want to get it tipped and get off down the road. I think we might get a bit of a talking to for blocking this entrance off to these garages as well at some point. We're a bit off this fella. Hey, are you alright, mate?
I've got to get a car at this garage in a little while.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, as soon as you need me to
They're
move.
due at 8 o'clock to take it away, my car.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I'll move out your way, mate, as soon as they told me to get here, don't be later than 7:30, and they're not even here on site yet.
well, I ain't supposed to start at 8 o'clock. Seriously.
Are they right, yeah?
Yeah. Well, you had a long drive today, have you?
Yeah. Yeah, down from Manchester, yeah.
That's alright, mate. I was in the forces with a lot of blokes from Manchester.
Right.
I marched round the freedom of Manchester years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of the Grenadier Guards are from Manchester.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah. Everybody pulls up this side. There's no traffic, you know. It's not. I don't want to give you a problem, but I got to come and take my car away at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
I might.
Getting it ready for him.
Yeah, I might move over there. Well, now he's moved, I can go where he was behind. I might just back up there where he was.
Good luck, mate. Because you must have. What you drove down today, have you?
Yeah, yeah.
Sod, I gave up years ago.
I know. Starting to get that feeling myself.
What part of Manchester?
Bolton I'm from.
Oh, Bolton. That's
Yeah.
even better still. Yeah.
Well, the depot's in Manchester, but I live in Bolton.
Bolton, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, you know, just reading what's his name, the comedian. You know, the
Peter Kay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just reading. And I'm reading this book, and I'm reading it like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, bloody brilliant.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
We
is.
do have some nice times here.
That post is a bit of a.
That's a tight squeeze in there.
Yeah.
It's all happening this morning.
You wouldn't think like, you know, this industrial estate would be here with all, you know.
All I know is crackers.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've lived here since 1971, and we said, why don't they finish here for the industrial bit? No, it's decided it's industrial because they were going to plan some flats over there.
Right.
But no, you can't talk to them. Morning, Clive.
Hello, boy.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the way of the world.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, some of the arseholes in the council, I can smack them, but that's another matter. Don't worry about it too much, mate. They'll be here in a while.
All right. Cheers, mate. Well, he was a pleasant chap. It's normally not the reception you get. Well, I am going to move up there out of his way. That's what I'm going to do. As soon as this lad gets in, I'm going to park back down there out the way. I'm out of everybody's way then. Right, I'll get back to you in a bit, hopefully when we've offloaded or when we're offloaded. is, isn't it? Still going to be too tight on that, yeah. Try and straighten up. You should have reversed him. Pardon?
You go that way now.
Sweat, on it. Sweat on there, lad. Not done yet.
Where are you thinking of going now, mate?
I was going to back in there, but that's the...
Could you drive in there, look, and then reverse up there?
Is it a better option? That is a good option, that is, yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Good job we're here, mate.
It is, isn't it? It'll be fun.
You'd be fun. But it was him, look. Babby. took his fucking rose bush out.
Yeah,
You'll get across here, won't you now, mate?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Woo! That were a tight one, YouTube. Got a sweat on now. Not much room in there, you know, when you wish you'd have backed in. He said to me, driving, we'll back you out, and I'm thinking all the time, might be easier backing in here. Problem was me getting myself somewhere to turn round to back in. So I went for the option of driving in, but it wouldn't be so bad if they cut half them trees back and let us see what you're doing. You know, bushes in your mirrors and everything. But without unscathed, no damage to any property or any truck. That'll do for me. So now we'll be heading Southampton. Unless things have changed. Which will contact work in a second. We'll get somewhere out of here to stop. Happenden is not at all truck friendly. That's one thing for sure. Well, this part of it certainly isn't anyway. Well, there we go, YouTube. That's an example how things can change very quickly. I've just rung in to make sure I'm following the job on my app, which has still got the Southampton load up to Newcastle. No. Going to Rochester Depot, there's a load in there for London. Great. So where we thought we was having a nice, easy day, see this is where things can stress you out a little bit. Because where you thought you were having a nice run down to Southampton, a nice run up to Newcastle, now we've got to go and battle with the traffic into London in the afternoon. But these things are sent to try us. Crack on, get it done, get the next job. Well, we're back on YouTube. Just leaving the depot. Got the trailer. It's not too bad. It's going just north for the Woolwich ferry, mate. Which would have been nice to actually go on the ferry, because we could have done, instead of going through the Dartford crossing through the tunnel, through the pipe. We could have gone Woolwich ferry, but it's not been running. Just been having a quick look, can't find out. The electric scooter on pavement. Toss. Yeah, I can't find out whether the Woolwich ferry's been working. Last couple of times I've passed it, they've been on strike. So I'm not going to attempt it. I'm just going to go straight up through the pipe and down the 13 and then come down towards the Woolwich ferry. Like I say, we're south of the river here, on the south side, mate, the south. Down south. Yeah. Cat of tea. Got cat of tea? Cat of tea, mate? Yeah. Yeah, have a cat of tea, mate. Anyway, enough of that. We're going north for the river, mate. Yeah. Where the proper cockneys come from. Yeah. Can't do a cockney accent, not what I'm trying. So we're going north for the river, but via the pipe, through the tunnel. not the ferry, which would have been nice to go on the ferry actually. There'd have been something to show you. Unless I see a good telltale sign that it's actually running, like a sign up saying that Woolwich Ferry is in operation, I'm not going to head that way. Coming in to the tunnel now, or coming up to the tunnel anyway. The Dartford crossing, absolutely hammered as usual. Busier than usual, I'd say, at this time. All the DVSA vehicles there. Looks like they're going to be having a busy day today. So we'll come through the tunnel and then get onto the A13. Got all the tankers here on the left parked up, waiting to be escorted through. The tankers and the ASCHEM, hazardous goods vehicles, all have to park there. Obviously as well abnormal loads if you need escorting through the tunnel where you need to take both lanes up. You have to pull into there as well. And as always, yes, there is a charge. Pretty sure it's £42, something like that, for a escorted load. I'm I'm sure it'll be the same for tankers and what have you, as it will be for wide loads or long loads. But you can't take any hazard materials on the Woolwich Ferry, so you have to come this way when the ferry's in operation or not. It's a mile long. Pretty sure that's how long it is. This is the original tunnel on the left. The one on the right got built later on. That's a tall, higher tunnel. This is quite low, this one. The one's a high tunnel. You just got to remember to get in the right lane on approach if you've got a high load on, or a high taut line, or a double decker or anything like that. Because they're not happy when you're not, and they have to drag you in and then send you back round. Comes up overright vehicle and all the lights start flashing. They drop the barrier in front of you and then pull you in. I've not had any experience of it. Obviously we're pulling flatbeds 90% of the time, but I have seen it. I've seen it happen right in front of me a couple of times. I've been dragged in there of a long load, which I didn't think it'd be a problem. I'm only long, not wide, I'm not taking up too much room, I'm not, you know, it was unescorted, I didn't need a second man or anything, it was less than 18.6. But they pulled me in and had a go at me. I said, well, I'm just staying in my lane. I mean, I could be long now, what difference does it make? But they weren't having it. They want the money out of you, don't they? But escorting you through. Get over with an overhang or a bit of something, but there is a length and width limit, which I'll have to, you see it on the signs anyway as you're coming down. the Dartford tunnel. Bright lights. Jesus, does seem bright though. Definitely, I was looking behind me, it's quite dull the other side. Cloudy. Come out into sunshine. Hurting my eyes. Not seen sunshine for a couple of days. Must have escorted the tankers through behind me because there was one of them. To the A13, which will take us through Dagenham, Barking, and then come off and head down towards like City Airport and then Woolwich Ferry. That's where our delivery point is. Down on Stores Road, down near Woolwich Ferry. Store Road it is. I'm in Barking. Just coming through Barking. We'll actually come off for the North Circular, but then like I say we'll head down towards City Airport, see Canary Wharf again in the distance there. Much better view there, Canary Wharf now in front of us. Well, there was before this van pulled in. There's that many construction sites as well when you when you're coming in places like this. I mean, what there's 2 or 3 there now. There's 3 tower cranes, 4 tower cranes if you count the one over there. See another one over there, that's 5. And you've got to find the one you want. Sometimes, you know, a lot of places it's like, well, there's only that one tower crane and building site. That's got to be me. It doesn't always work that way down London. And in quite a lot of major cities really, but especially down London. So much construction going on in such a small area. It's not easy just to pinpoint exactly where you want to be. But I'm pretty sure I've done this one before. I know I've been down here and done something down here before. I'm sure it was this site. Over the water now. Not the Thames, just coming over. There's City Airport. Won't be able to see it, but it's nice here. Always like this part. I took some big pipes in down here. I'm wondering if that's what I'm getting confused with, or it might well be the same site. Some big pipes in for the drainage for the sewage works. Overbridge next to Canary Wharf there really well. Love to get me drone up here, but not a chance for being that close to the airport, but it'd be really nice to get the drone up there. It's a nice place, I do like it. Thinned out a little bit now. There's just one tower crane in the distance, so I'm presuming that one's ours. Normally you get a sign on them which close we are to the ferry, because you've got the signs up now saying no hazardous. No hazardous loads. On my left down here. I think where that bus has just gone. Is that where I want to go? I wonder. Yeah. I can see a Henry sign anyway. Pulling behind these tipper boys. Looks like he's the banksman there. These boys don't need you. I'll go and have a word. Right, we're getting ready to go in. The other lad's leaving. Apparently we've got to drive in and then reverse into position. We're not allowed to reverse in off the road. I don't know why he's let this van park here, it's making it fucking awkward. That van's in the way.
Yeah, go in. Some friends of mine, they said, you are the best driver. Let me see how you...
If that van wasn't there, I'd get in.
Yeah, come on, you are. Come on. Come on. Don't worry. Come on. It'll be good. Come on. Go.
Is that okay? No.
Very good. I know you. I trust you, yeah.
I can drive. That's the banksman for you. Why let a van come down and park there? You know what I mean? Why? Stupidity. Without the van there, plenty of room. Put a van there, struggle. No need to be struggling, is there? No need.
If it do bam, stop it. Okay, go.
Okay.
Are you done any camera behind?
Where does he want me? Further over that way?
No, there's no way. How do I? Go there, go back. Yeah, that way.
Ik ben weer naar daar.
Yeah.
Aan de filmpje dat je. Goed dan
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Be here temporary and after when it's coming the great supervisor,
Yeah.
we will start it to unload it.
Is it alright where it is? This
Yeah,
way
don't
he's going to
worry,
unload it, yeah?
He will come here, he'll let you know when he needs.
Alright. Right, YouTube, we're now leaving Store Road. We're actually heading for Sheffield to do a collection to come back down to London. Bressenden Place, London, which is just behind, well, Nova East it's called, Bressenden Place. It's just behind Buckingham Palace. It's a 12 o'clock delivery tomorrow. Right, my good people, we have arrived at our destination, the A1 CAF. We'll park here for the night. Plenty of trucks in here. Just squaws in, there's a couple of spaces left. But yeah, this will do us for tonight. We're, what are we? Hour and a half from Sheffield. So that'll put me there at 5:30 if I go at 4. And then hopefully someone will be in at 6 to load us. I mean, there might not be, but I'm hoping there. Get these stillages on. And we'll start heading south down to London. And I shall see you bright and early at 4 o'clock in the morning. Bye for now.